That's good enough.
It's not gonna get better than that.
Okay, here we are. It's the first Two Guys, One Bookshelf podcast ever. We don't really have too much of a plan. We just wanted to get the first podcast out. We're going to be talking about what we're reading, hopefully bringing on some cool guest speakers, authors, stuff like that. Talking about what we're doing, the traveling we're doing, the businesses that we're building. We know probably no one's going to watch video one, so our real goal is only to make it to 100 videos and then get Seth Godin on the podcast because that's his rule.
Yeah. So videos 1 through 10 probably won't be too good. Maybe get like 2, 3, 10, 100 views.
100,000.
100,000 someday.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, pretty much talk about life, what we're working on, what we're learning about, what we're reading, what we're watching. You watch anything good today, or are you out here?
Yeah, I watched a few good things. Some My First Million podcasts. So Sam Parr, Shane Purry, and then some Alex Hormozy, the OG. But shoot, I didn't really get to listen to too much today. Sometimes it's hard, depending on what I'm working on, to have other people talking in my head if I'm really trying to focus.
Yeah, you sent me one good one. Kind of a closing framework almost for a client call. So
why don't you talk to people through that, just roughly?
Got some good nuggets out of that. Basically one of the things we do is we have an email marketing agency, and so we've been meeting with a lot of clients. But recently just saw a video with a lot of good nuggets. I actually don't even know the guy's name, so I can't shout him out.
Sell Your Services, I believe he's called.
Sell Your Services. So I walked through an actual call, a close, some objection handling, some just classic game day situations. So kind of good to take some notes, some good discovery questions to take into the next call we do. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, but do you remember anything specific out of it that people might get value from?
Good question.
They don't give a damn that you got value from it.
That's fair.
What's in it for them? Shout out to Derek Nugent and Whiffam.
Well, if they have an agency and they're closing calls, then
If you're closing any sales calls.
But honestly, no, I don't know anything off the top of my head. I'll have to look back. Some notes.
Right. Well, let's jump into the books here. We got a stack of books in front of us. I'm not sure if you can see them or not. But Orion, what have you been reading recently?
Yeah, I brought a hat trick of books to the table today. One of them was the Anthology of Bology by Eric Jorgensen. Actually, you recommended this one to me. It was pretty good. We can dive into it later.
Why don't you give us a quote out of there, something that the people might find interesting.
Yeah, let's find a good nugget.
Just open it up, first one you found.
Here we go. This is the start of part 1, technology. This is one of Bology's tweets here. Putting in a lot of labor doesn't necessarily generate value. Putting in the right technology often does.
So anyone who tells you to work harder and not smarter doesn't know what they're talking about in today's world. Of course, you have to work hard, and hard is subjective, right? But hard means going through a lot of failure, giving it a lot of time, experimenting with a lot of ideas. But at some point, you have to start using leverage in the form of technology, in the form of other people, in the form of the money that you're making, to make things easier on yourself. Because the trick really is to work smarter, not harder. Your goal is not to build yourself another job that you're working 80 hours, 90 hours, 100 hours a week for. That might be necessary at the beginning, but you're sacrificing your life if that's all you're doing. So working smarter, not harder is definitely something that we could all, use. How we do that is different depending on everyone's business. So
yeah, and you mentioned one thing that was pretty good in there is that maybe if you're laying the foundation and you got to put in those long weeks, that's something. But over the long term, that's not the goal, right? You put in that time so that you can build the systems and put things in place to where you get to work less, right? That's everyone's goal at the end of the day. Maybe not everyone, but a lot of people's goal is leisure. So the more time you can save yourself, and that just goes into laying the foundation early, and then trying to automate as much as you can with technology. Kind of what I pulled out of there from Bology. But yeah, some of the other books I brought to the table today. Autobiography by Yogi, I just recently started, so won't say too much on that, but the last one I brought was Same as Ever by Morgan Housel. It was pretty good. It's kind of like maybe like a dumbed down version of some of Nassim Talib's ideas, but that was a pretty good one.
Nice. Anything you want to share from either of those?
Yeah, let's see if we can pull out something.
I think whatever you see is the best. That's what's meant to be seen and shared.
Let's see if we can find something good here. Yeah, one thing I pulled out of it that was really good was that I don't want to phrase this, but really like the thing I think is interesting with news is that all the news we get is so negative, but really like the big innovations and the big things that are impacting humanity are slow, kind of incremental gains that happen over time, and so those aren't really the things that we hear about often. It's all just the negative things. And another point that was made was that I don't even know where I was going on this tangent, so we'll have to clip it there. But yeah, that was something like that. What about you, Hunter? What kind of books did you bring?
I'm always reading a bunch of books depending on what I'm in the mood to read. I usually start in the morning with something a little bit more material, down to earth, something practical that I can use in my day. And then in the afternoon, I usually read something more about mindset, kind of spirituality maybe, to kind of relax and draw in the day to a good end. But definitely have to give a shout out to Dan Coe. I've been loving his book. So I'll read a random highlight out of here. When corporate culture is handing you a pretty paycheck to incentivize sustained intensity by exploiting your survival, you must push back. Right? So it's kind of telling that I opened that to a random page and it was the same subject we were just talking about with Bology, where the goal isn't to just do as much work as you possibly can. It's about doing meaningful work. It's about doing productive and quality work, which when you have a job and you work 9 to 5, it's how much work can you get done in a short time period. It doesn't matter if your work quality drops off huge within the first 3 or 4 or 5 hours. They don't care. They push you and squeeze every last drop out of you. When you're working for yourself, when you're working for your own business, the goal really is to be able to work and spend your time doing more high leverage activities, thinking strategically, putting people in places to do things. And a lot of that work is going to be mental work, and a lot of those ideas come from when you're not sitting behind the computer working. They come when you're out in the world actually living and just kind of going about your day. So you need intensity and leisure, not just intensity. In a 9 to 5 corporate culture is going to drive you to only be intense. So
only be intense, and when you work a 9 to 5, I mean, really, how many hours are you actually getting a focused work? And
yeah.
How many hours are you sitting there, scrolling through LinkedIn?
Yeah. Twitter,
right.
Facebook, watching YouTube videos. I remember when I worked in a corporate office, I watched the entire Avatar: The Last Airbender series when I knew I was going to be quitting.
Classic. I
was collecting a paycheck, watching anime Avatar on my phone, and just working on my side business. So that's what's going on in jobs, probably.
Nice. So, I mean, what else are you reading? We're in Boulder right now, and found kind of a little esoteric bookshop, if you will.
Absolutely.
Hunter Was in Heaven. Tell him what you found there.
Well, huge Yogananda fan, and if you know anything about Yogananda, Paramahansa, I'm not even going to try to say it. The Autobiography of a Yogi right here. I've read a few of his books now, The Autobiography of a Yogi, The Divine Romance, and I was reading 2 other books by him. One book that's so big, 1,600 pages, they put it into 2 separate books. It's like a breakdown of the New Testament from his perspective. But his guru was Swami Sri Yukeshwar, and he had a book called The Holy Science, which I've always wanted to read. Nice. And came across it at this bookstore that Ryan was talking about. So this one's going to be pretty wild for sure.
I know you haven't really got into it yet, but does just opening the page, does any one-liners stand out?
Yeah, I haven't started reading that one page yet. But for example, the first thing I open here, it says the universe is differentiated into 14 spheres, 7 Swargas and 7 Patalas. No idea what that means. So I guess I'll report back to you guys in a little bit.
Out of context, so it's a tough look for Sri Yukaswar.
It's a tough look for me, just because I don't know what it means.
It's alright. So yeah, aside from all the reading, what else been going on? We've been doing a lot of traveling. We're on a road trip right now. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we're from South Florida. We left Palm Beach probably a month and a half ago. Went from there to Orlando, visited our friend Damien. And from there we went to, what was it called?
Columbus, Georgia.
Columbus, Georgia, to see one of our good friends, Kirk, play for the Columbus River Dragons pro hockey.
Yeah. First time we got to see him play pro, so that was good.
He almost got in a fight too for the boys.
He was trying. He was itching for it.
Yeah,
But,
they did win too.
yeah, from there, we went up to Asheville, North Carolina, spent a week there, got some hikes in.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful time of year.
That's where my brother
see
lives.
some family, yep. From there, we drove one sprint all the way up to Long Island. Hunter worked on his hotspot the whole way.
12 hours straight.
Super productive shift. And then watched my brother. He had his first pro Muay Thai fight.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun to watch. Then spent a week in New York City.
Yeah, New York City. I love that place.
Yeah.
It's a different level than any other city I've ever been to. So
Crazy energy everywhere you go.
yeah.
The museums were probably one of my favorite parts. That was
yeah.
pretty cool.
Mad energy in New York.
Yeah, that was fun. We saw some rats the size of
Small
dogs. Yeah,
Yeah.
off the leash too. So
Yep. You gotta watch out for them. They'll bite your ankles.
yeah, dangerous on trash day. Be careful, especially. Anyways, from New York City, we went out to Pittsburgh, outside of Pittsburgh, stayed at a ski resort for a couple of weeks, got some good
Mm-hmm.
quality work sessions in, had a nice fireplace, so it was pretty
That was real
nice.
nice.
Some good snow days, and then from there, just a full sprint out here to Colorado, so
Hell yeah.
outside of Boulder now, trying to get into the mountains next week, get some powder days in.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll see where we end up from there.
We're really just getting started on this trip, so stay tuned. Hopefully we can start using this camera that I bought. We're going to be exploring Colorado, all the national parks, really in depth. Then going down to Arizona, up California to the Pacific Northwest, Oregon, Washington, all the state parks, national parks, cities. So hopefully sharing some really cool stuff with you guys. Hopefully these get a little more structured, get a little more valuable to you, but we just wanted to get the first one done because we knew if we didn't, it would never get done.
Mm-hmm.
And our motto right here, right now in this time period of our life is just start, get things done, activity. You can't get things done if you just sit there and try to plan. You gotta actually just get going and try to start building things and learn along the way.
Try, fail quick, fail forward. If you're not failing, you're probably not going to go anywhere, really. I mean, you got to get out of your comfort zone, right? And
Yep.
if you're not out of your comfort zone, you're just going to, everything's going to be a victory, and that's, I mean, it's kind of a failure disguised as a victory if you think about it over the long run, so.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly. So roast us in the comments. Let us know how we can get better.
definitely.
And yeah, we look forward to seeing you guys
See you
soon.
next pod, and we'll have a little bit more juicy stuff planned from these books.
All right.